When solving a inequality with a graph, the first thing you want to do is look to see where is the solution set true. So like in this case, you're given f of x is less than 0. Well, f of x is the same thing as the outputs or y values. So that's where y is less than 0. So here, below the x-axis, in other words, y values under 0. Next, you identify the pieces of the graph that are below the x-axis that meet that condition, and that would be, for instance, this piece of the graph and this piece of the graph. After that, you then want to identify where these pieces are in terms of their x values. So, for instance, this first piece of the graph exists between negative infinity, an x value, negative infinity, to, let's see here, negative 1. And of course, not including negative 1. The next piece exists from 0, between these x values here, between 0 to 1. But we're also, remember, going for where the y value is less than 0. So in other words, I don't want to include that point. So I need to be sure that I state this interval as 0 to 1, like so. And then the only other thing that you want to attend to is make sure that you're using the correct symbol, which when you're doing this problem, you should have like a symbol palette that comes up that allows you to type in that symbol there. All right, for this next piece, we want to identify y values that are greater than or equal to 0. So that's going to be these values that are above the x-axis. Parts of the graph that correspond with that are here and here. The only difference in this case is that you would want to include where y is equal to 0. So for instance, in this interval, we'll say x, again, x values are a solution. X is between negative 1 and 0, but we're going to include the 0 for that interval, like so. And then for the next interval, x is between 1 to infinity. And then, of course, make sure that you're using the right symbol in the palette that shows up below to connect those two.